Good morning, Townsvillians. Welcome to a Weather IQ weather update today for the Townsville District, 1st of Feb 2025. It's all February already. We're almost second half. Well, we are the second half of the wet season. This update brought to you by TownsvilleSheds.com. Nice to spread out the wet season activity, isn't it? Wet season started on the last day of the first half and probably finishes in the first few days of the second half. All right, anyway, let's get into it. We've got big rain coming today in the next 24 hours. By the time you're watching this, probably the big rain would have started. We got massive rainfall up here around Palm Island. That's all going to come southwestwards towards the coastline, and it's all going to come onto the coastline between about Ingham and the southern suburbs of Townsville, Garoo, Alligator Creek, that sort of area. And we can see here that over the course of the next few days, this is between Friday and Wednesday, we're expecting to see between 400 and 700 millimetres of rain here, right? Big numbers on top of the 200 to 300 that's already fallen. Big numbers. That's a metre of rain for those of you counting in our most affected areas, and at least half a metre of rain for those of you counting in our lesser affected areas. There's still a chance of all the doom and gloom forecasts of 1.2 to 1.5 metres of rain. Absolutely, there's still a chance of it, but it's a fairly small chance. We are expecting to see things move, right? This is the big thing with this system. It moves. It doesn't just sit in the one spot, which is at least its saving grace. Over the last 24 hours, it could have decided to sit over Townsville, but it didn't. It moved. And so we had falls of 200 plus millimetres, all the way from Innisfail all the way down to the Burdekin. So that gives us a great opportunity to hopefully spread the rain out. Everyone's going to get flooded, but at least one place isn't going to get cataclysmically bombarded by massive falls of rain that never stop. Is there a chance it stops moving? Yeah, sure there is. Minimum potential rainfall, this is really important to understand. Minimum still to come is 200 mils, all right? Minimum still to come. So we're expecting more than that, way more than that between now and Wednesday. But if you're not prepping for at least 200 to 300 mils catchment wide in this area and up in the Ingham area, you're going to be finding yourself in a world of pain. Right, further inland so far, we've just had pitter-patter stuff out the back of Charters Towers, but there is potential there for further rainfall increases as well. So here's the mess. That's the mess. That's all coming our way. You can see it's all just started to develop around the Townsville district just in the last hour. That's all starting to move southwest from where its current location is. You can see, look at this beautiful little red line here. Well, it's beautiful when you don't have rain. When you've had too much rain, it's a problem. Right, so all of that's coming our way, and it's going to set in, and then it's going to stay 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 in for each 6-hour period until tomorrow morning, where it starts to lift off to the north. All right, so the AI is telling us it's up around Ingham, Palm Island at the moment. It's going to push downwards. Here it is, boom, boom, straight over the top of Townsville over the next few hours, sticking around, and sticking around. You can see the heaviest. This is the problem, right? People look at this and they go, oh, the heaviest is in Paluma. It doesn't matter. No. This is a smoothed model. A smoothed model means it's not going to get the heaviest spot on. What it's going to suggest is that the heaviest should be around Paluma, but it could be anywhere in a 25-kilometre radius of Paluma. So 25k that way. Then the next heaviest is 25 kilometres away from where that edge is, right? So understand what smoothing means. And also smoothing means that we're not going to pick up the maximal rainfall potential inside the zone. So this is telling us, get ready for big rain, Townsville. Get ready for big rain, Ingham. Decent rain, Ayr. Decent rain, Charters Towers. But get ready for big rain in this Ingham, Townsville area, because you've just had a bit of a respite the overnight early in the morning. You're about to cop it now. All right, as we go through, 4 a.m. in the morning, look at this big area of massive rainfall from Cardwell area down through to, as I mentioned, just north of Ayr, Kungalla, Alligator Creek. This area is the focal point of rainfall between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. What was the focal point of rainfall between 4 p.m. and 10 p.m.? Same area. What was the focal point of rainfall between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m.? Same area. All right? Big focal point of very intense and heavy rainfall. Ingham to Kungalla. Next 24 hours, non-stop. There's no break. There's no big break there for 6 hours. It's just bang, sets in, bang, stays set in, bang, stays set in, then finally starts to lift. Not good for Ingham, because as it starts to lift, it actually intensifies as it gets forced northwards. Starts to lift, but still heavy rainfall in the Townsville district into the morning hours of tomorrow. Very intense rainfall for the Paluma Ingham area into tomorrow. Big rain there. All right. Now for them, there's no luxury of it lifting off to the north, because as it lifts off to the north, it whacks them harder. So at the moment, they're on the northern, they're going to be, right now they're right in the thick of things, right? But they're going to be in the northern extension of the biggest rain. Then they're going to be in the northern extension of the biggest rain. Then they're going to be in the northern extension of the biggest rain. Then the biggest rain comes right on top of them. For Townsville, you're on the southern extension of the biggest rain. Southern extension of the biggest rain, southern extension of the biggest rain, then the biggest rain lifts slightly northwards by tomorrow morning. As we go through the day tomorrow, you can see very significant flood event for Ingham, Halifax, Lucinda, Cardwell, those sort of areas in our northern districts. Notice we're lifting off a fair bit of our heavy rainfall to the north tomorrow around the Townsville district. So that will give us a bit of respite. Notice it never finds up. There's no stage there where there's no rain. It's always raining. It's just we're back to the stuff that we got overnight. You know, that light drizzly, mizzly stuff with a couple of heavy showers in between, all right? So at no stage are we allowing everything to settle down, because we're not getting blue skies, we're not getting fine weather, we're just distributing the rain, that intense rain further northwards. And that's, as I say, the one saving grace of this system is that it didn't decide it wants to perch over Townsville like some of the doom and gloom peddlers were saying. And as I said to you yesterday, when we did the monsoon update, I was quite cranky by the end of yesterday. Sorry, I was a bit tired. It was a big day, and there was a lot of rubbish going on around Townsville about what's going on. Now, in that update, I said to you, one of the saving graces with systems in the Gulf that want to chill out a little bit and become the dominant focuses of attention is that they can shift and alter the focus of this flow pattern. And that's the saving grace for Townsville. Doesn't mean you're not going to get big rain. And for Ingham, it means that because that ebb and flow is just south, just north of them, it means that they're constantly in an area of extreme rainfall. Now, you would have noticed I haven't talked much about the inland areas. Now, that doesn't mean they're not getting rain. They're getting a lot of widespread drizzly shower activity. There might be some locally heavier falls for them, but the real focus of this is going to be coast and coastal hinterland. As we move on into Monday, the expectation is that it lifts off to the north, but there is a little bit of doubt on Monday. There are some models that want to bring this area of heavy rain just south again and perch it in between Townsville and Ingham again. So there's still a little bit of, we're not too sure Monday. So don't take anything that we're saying for Monday as gospel right now, because there is a fair bit of doubt. So today, what are we preparing for? Massive flood, Townsville, Ingham. This area here, massive flood. If it hasn't flooded yet, it'll flood in the next 24 hours. And by tomorrow, we're expecting to see through the day tomorrow that area of heavy rain lifting off to the north. Now, that means that for the rainfall between now and tomorrow night, this is the smooth rainfall. It's not going to be spot on, but it's going to give you an idea at where our heaviest rain is. And you can see that our heaviest rain is going to be in this sort of blue pocket in here, right? This aqua pocket in here. Don't get fixated on the white. That's the problem. People fixate on the big numbers and they forget that, oh, by the way, this aqua means we're getting 300 to 500 mils. All right? So that's the problem sometimes with these charts. I wish I could just make them one bland colour. So the idea is here that everyone here is getting big rain north of air, and everyone's getting that big rain in the next 24 hours. It's coming right now. By the time you're watching this, that rain has kicked off. Right, the Bureau of Meteorology's Access G model does what the Access G model does best, which is over-exaggerate everything. And you can see, though, that it is suggesting we could see falls up to about 1,000 millimetres in the next 36 hours. Let's, before you go off and panic and I don't know what you're going to do, but understand the model gets a little bit silly, especially when mountain ranges get involved. But it does give us an idea that if we halve the numbers, these big top numbers, we're still getting falls in the 4 to 500 millimetre range in the next 24 to 36 hours. And if the model's a little bit less exuberant for these other areas on the periphery, that's still 4 to 500, 3 to 400 in these areas just in the next 24 hours or 36 hours. And you can see it pushes a fair bit of that rain inland. Probably, once again, we want to halve those numbers for the inland areas, but we're still getting big numbers across inland regions. Charters Towers, we halve that, we're getting 150 to 200 in the next 36 hours. That's big rain, right, for Charters Towers. Huge rain for Charters Towers. Look at the catchment areas as well. It's not just coastal. Yeah, sure, the big numbers, the ones that stand out like dogs, you know what's, they're on the coast. But we need to focus on the fact that the hinterland and the surrounding areas are copping this rainfall big time. And you can see as we go further to the west, we've got that massive rainfall all the way out to Greenvale, the headwaters of the Burdekin, the headwaters of the Herbert. So all of those upper tributaries are all flowing into those major river systems. So this is, while yes, sure, the absolute maximum rainfall is on the coast, sure, absolutely, no doubt about it. Don't get fixated on the pretty colours or the ugly colours, okay? So they're not the thing we should be fixated on today. The fixation is the massive rainfall that's coming into the district in the next 24 hours, and we need to have finalised our preparations for a massive flood. Right. Let's go. Forecast ground radar shows all this moderate to heavy rainfall from the north starting to shift southwards. There it is there. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at this big burst of rain coming down. Whoo! Coming through into the afternoon, into the evening. Look at that. Ouchie, ouchie, ouchie. And it just keeps going. And it just keeps going throughout the night. Look at that. It just keeps going. Goodness gracious me. Let's hope the model does show some signs of that clearance. Yeah, it does. Towards the back half. Notice that, though, it does keep the clearance more towards the back half. Although we do stop seeing the big purpley bits coming onto the coast around about tomorrow morning. So that's good news. That means we're back to the light drizzly, mizzly stuff for most of the day tomorrow. So that's at least some sort of evidence of some sort of congruence or confluence of the modelling that suggests that we've got to get through the next 24 hours. Once we can get through the next 24 hours, the 24 hours after that, I'm not going to say are going to be a piece of cake, because they're not, because we've already got so much flooding in the district in the next 24 hours, but at least they're not going to make the situation a hell of a lot worse. All right, they're not going to make it better because they're still going to drive a fair bit of rainfall activity onto the ground, which is already saturated and flooded, but they're not going to make things a lot worse because the intensity's not going to be there as much tomorrow versus today, after at least the morning hours. Still intense in the morning, but after the morning hours, so the back half of tomorrow, doesn't look to be as intense in the district. All right, and as I say, if we're looking for saving graces, this was supposed to be an event that sat over Townsville for 5 days, a la 2019. All right, that's what the modelling, that's what the numerical weather prediction modelling was telling us. I was always a little bit dubious about that one, just because I know the unpredictability of Gulf systems and Western Cape systems. Right, as we go through, Bodie, stay off the water. I know, I feel your pain. It's the first day of the bloody Barra season and this rubbish is going on. I get it. Stay off the water. Not only do we have a low coming onto another circulation, let's call it a circulation, not a low, coming onto the coast around Cardwell, Ingham, we're then going to have the opportunity for waterspout activity. Look at this rubbish here. Look at that. Boom, boom, waterspout, waterspout, waterspout. All right, all that waterspout activity coming onto the coastline as well. So please make sure you don't have stuff on your boat that's just outside getting ready to get whacked by a waterspout. And you can see there the waterspout activity quite clearly, that nice little shear line just coming onto the coast around Townsville, and that's just going to be further. Just an absolute rubbish day. All right, so stay off the water, stay off the land, stay in your houses, enjoy Netflix, do whatever you need to do to make sure. And listen, always have drinking water. Drinking water right now is 100%. But we don't know if the drinking water after another 500 mils of rain in the next 24 hours is going to be 100%. So make sure you go to your tap, fill up an old water bottle, put it in the fridge. And that goes for Townsville, Ingham, all this area in here. Okay? And looking at the Euro model for the same period, yep, there it is there. Big rain coming, big rain onto us later this morning. Big rain sticks around, big rain sticks around, big rain sticks around, right? So there's that really good opportunity for that rain to stick around the next 24 hours. We expect it to be very big in the Townsville area. Boys and girls, if you want to know more, get on to Discord, pick my brain, ask me about stuff. But yeah, it's just one of those things. I think I've told you everything I know right now for this area. It's going to be big next 24 hours. Obviously, king tide's coming up at 11 o'clock as well. Well, it's not quite king tide. It's 3.6 metre tide, and that's going to coincide with this big rain coming onto the coast. So that's our first challenge to get through that 10 a.m. to midday period where the king tide's coming up just as the same time as the rain's coming down. So that's our first little hurdle. And then after that, obviously the further enhancement of rainfall. And you can see there on the Euro, there's no problem with that rain getting into the catchment, which is a big issue. So lots of rain into the catchment of the Ross, Bowley, the Ross Dam, and then, as I say, into the catchment zones of the Herbert and Burdekin as well. So, we're going to see some fairly significant riverine flooding developing through these areas over the next 24 to 48 hours. And then, unfortunately, even though, yes, the rain does drop off to some degree tomorrow, I don't want you thinking it's going to be, 5 mils. We're talking about a drop-off down to about 100 mils over 24 hours. We're not talking about a drop-off of 300 to 500 to 0. Silver lining, because I'm a glass half full kind of guy. Look at that, beautiful temperatures. You wouldn't want temperatures any better than that for a summer day. 25 to 27 is basically right across the district. Same thing tomorrow. Look at that, beautiful. And same thing the next day. And getting a little bit warmer the next day, getting up to about 29, 28, 29. All right, so that's your glass half full finish to the day. I'll talk to you again tomorrow morning.